I don't know if that's happened yet, but I know the first fire truck in town was in 1947.
And we still have
And we still have it. And as far as I know, unless he's already bought it, Randy Rigdon has the receipt for it.
Was it really?
Yeah, it's his, either his dad, I don't remember if the co-op or why Lee would have been the guy who signed the receipt. Because he wouldn't have been city.
Maybe it was on a bar or something?
No.
At that time, only city residents could be on the farm.
Oh, really?
So I wonder if the co-op donated that first fire truck? But
I don't know.
Randy's got the receipt for it.
Do you want to give it up?
Yeah, we talked about it. He's gotta figure out which tub it's in.
Well, like for safekeeping.
I've seen it.
What was the generic question? What was the best part about being a firefighter EMT? Must have been some reward, or you would keep doing it for, how would you say, Monica, up to 20 years? What kept you coming back every year?
Just helping. Yeah.
Yeah, Carmen, you asked him that.
She's eating cake right now.
I mean, we obviously didn't do it for the money.
I'm talking about the $4 right there.
I think we saw the need.
That'd be up to 20 bucks if you invested it.
You know, I just think we saw the need.
I think that's what it is, just,
And it was just the camaraderie.
yeah, volunteerism, helping your neighbors and stuff, because majority of the people we help were our neighbors, and
And I don't wanna say it was fun, but it was fun being around the people, you know what I mean?
some,
The adrenaline rush.
some part of it was very, very fun. Some of it was very heartbreaking, but
Yes.
But it was rewarding.
it was
Yes.
very rewarding when you did something and in the future, you seen how it repaid.
Yes.
Do you remember that lady that got in a car accident on Raymond Road? Yeah, on Raymond Road. She got hit by that big truck.
Up in Cedar Rapids.
Are you talking about Ann Kluge?
No, not Ann Klubine. Yeah, I think it's on Cedar Rapids. And she
I'm not
got,
sure if I'm,
she was in a minivan, and her legs were really bad. Remember that? And this lady, she was pretty mangled. So bad she was bleeding, and with new vehicles, the old vehicles used to be able to like wrap a chain around the steering wheel and pull the whole dash up. With the new vehicles, you can't do that, and we were having problems with getting the dash stabilized enough to get her out, because her legs were trapped underneath the dash, and we had Waterloo Fire ambulance there too, because they had,
We didn't
support
have some.
we needed.
we didn't even have saws back then.
Yeah, we had job, but we couldn't get it stabilized, so this lady was bleeding out so bad that if you put your hand down on the floor, try to hold something, and the blood would just come up to your finger and stuff, and we finally got her out, and she lived, and like several months after she got out of the hospital and stuff, she brought treats to the fire department for a meeting, and that was very rewarding, because somebody for a little while was like,
It was touch and go because
she's not
her
gonna make it.
foot was about 3/4 of an inch of skin on the heel was the only thing holding the foot on her body.
And
That's where I learned that Darrin doesn't do well with blood.
Yeah.
He doesn't do well with shots,
Shots.
injections.
Injection.
I mean, I think that stems from when he was young, he had growths on his vocal cords.
Oh.
And that was pretty traumatic for a kid that was 7. But after that, I mean, whenever he sees a needle coming to it, he faints. And here's this big strapping guy, and, you know, it's a subconscious thing.
You're
Yeah.
talking about Mike?
No, my son.
Darrin.
Oh, about the end. That'd be me. Mostly if I knew a person.
Actually, Dale Steffen.
Yeah.
As long as it's not his blood, it's Rachel's finger, he's going down.
Yeah.
Just put your cat down.
This is Deb's.
us, and grab a copy of the tape.
You know anything about, have a list of all the firefighters and police officers, or would that be with the individual departments and?
You're talking about years past?
Yeah.
I doubt it. I don't know if there's still minute books at the fire department. Sometimes they would list when somebody new joined and sometimes they didn't. It wasn't ever presented to the city that many years ago, so it's not in the city minute books. It is now, but it wasn't back then.
Does anybody happen to know when the Dunkerton, just pick on the firefighters for a while, did anybody know when the Dunkerton Fire Department was established?
I have 1941 here.
41. Prior to that, would it just been people that if something happened, they'd just go?
As I remember the story, do you remember across from where Don Hayes lives now, the big brick house on the corner?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was told that garage, Claude Lamb owned it at the time, and he ran the creamery. I was told that whatever apparatus they had to fight fires was stored in that garage until they built the one on Canfield. And that was originally a 2-stall, and then they added the extra, so it ended up being 4-stall.
Has Dunkerton ever considered professional firefighters? Have they always been?
It's always been volunteer.
I don't think you guys remember, but something like 85% of all the firefighters in Iowa are volunteers.
In the nation.
In the nation.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
I told Teresa, my dad was the first fire chief, and I had his badge, and when he died, I gave it to my oldest son, because at that time, they lived in town, and he was on the fire department, and I know that was an appropriate place for it. But I called him the other day, and I said, do you still have, the badge there? And he said, I do, and he said, it's tucked away and stored, in a closet. And I said, would you consider donating it to the museum? And he said that would be a more appropriate place than stuck in the closet.
Wow.
So I'm hoping to get that from him this coming week.
Wow. So the first fire chief for Dunkerton, is that what I'm hearing? The first fire chief? That's excellent.
As far as I know. And then that, 2 of my brothers were also fire chiefs.
Maybe we probably all think we know, but what's the actual official relationship between the city and the fire department? Are the fire department, are they completely separate, or is it overseen by the city?
It's overseen by the city. They are allowed to elect their own fire chief every 2 years. When the municipal elections take place, they elect among themselves the fire chief.
Okay.
It comes to the city just kind of for approval and acceptance. And the city, oversees their budget, sets their budget. The fire department presents it to the city. They try to fine tune it as best they can. Because, we can't afford $1 million expenditure.
Monica, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm over here. The city puts in a certain percentage of their budget, and then each township covered by the department puts in their percentage.
Yeah.
Is that based on population or just the fact that it's?
Population and valuation.
Okay, even for
I
the
shouldn't even
township?
say population, it's
It's just
based on
evaluation.
evaluation.
For the
It's the
townships
number
also?
it's the number of sections in each township that they serve. Like Leicester would be the biggest. Maybe the entire township is in, our district. So they would be charged with, let's say it's 40 sections.
Right.
Where Pointer, they might have 10.
Right.
Bennington,
Yeah.
Barclay. So there's a formula that we established a long time ago. And each of the townships sign that. And then they get a bill for it.
Are the fire districts, those boundaries, are those set in stone, or do they shift?
Well, they can change, but they have to be agreed to by the township trustees.
What would cause them to change I guess I'm thinking like Jessup, as Jessup gets bigger, do they want more
guess we'd have to check the Iowa code books for that, and she's got an old set there, and we can check and see what that says. Rick, do you know
Well, I
for
think
certain?
It's like everything, no one wants to give away their
Right.
piece of the pie.
Okay.
So it's very difficult. You would have to petition to jump out of Dunkerton Fire District and go to Jessup Fire District.
And then that town would also have to agree.
Right.
Yeah, everybody has to.
Everybody
agree
has to agree to it. And sometimes it might be beneficial, say, if we had a large manufacturing that was much closer to Jessup, at the end of our fire district, but closer to Jessup, it might be beneficial for everybody to cover them under a Jessup Fire District.
But I don't think they've changed for years and years and years.
No, it's pretty difficult because it's just like
Nobody wants to give up their territory.
Waterloo and Cedar Falls, you know, I mean, they aren't gonna give up part of their land to give to somebody else because they just want it. Or some people feel that it's better for them.
So, as long as you got the floor, what was your experience and why did you wanna join? Why? That's a big question.
Well, here's a kind of funny story because group of us all joined together, including her son Darrin, and,
Well, we had a mass exodus of firefighters.
yeah.
In what year? Approximately?
98, yeah.
Mike, can you remember?
I don't remember.
Somewhere in the late 90s?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, so we all joined because all of us were from Dunkerton, grew up here. Some of us had moved away and came back, you know, so we all had a commitment to the,
There's probably 6 or 8 of us all going.
there was 6 of all of us joined at one time. And actually, I brought something today because I thought it was a volunteer organization.
Right?
We just did it. And all of a sudden, like our second meeting or so like that, all of a sudden, Carmen starts walking around and going, here you go, here you go. Carmen goes, here you go.
Are you
And
serious?
it's a check for $4.
That's your first check?
My first check.
We'll put the check up here.
Yeah,
Which
let's
means
see
you
that every
had
month.
one call.
One call, $4, and I was like, what is it? She goes, well, you get paid. It's like, what?
So
She goes,
no, it was 98.
1998.
it was, you get paid for going on calls. She goes, it doesn't matter if it's 15 minutes or
Get that
15
signed.
hours, you get $4. So, and I thought it was all volunteer, and it was like, what, you get paid for this? And she was, yeah, 15 minutes or 15 hours, you get paid the same.
It just gets better and better.
Yeah, it was like, I told Carmen, it's like, I'm never gonna cash this
What is
check.
it now? Does anybody know what it is?
The dollar rate is a little bit more now. I
Yeah.
can't tell you offhand what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna say 15, but I don't know that I don't know.
And I think back
At
then
the
we
end of the day, that didn't cover the hours you left work.
No, but it was like, and at that time, we only got paid for calls only.
Right.
Right.
And now I think they get paid for
Training.
meetings and training and stuff, which is, but it
So
was
what-
like, couldn't believe it, like,
So when you got pulled away from work, did your employer lock you out, or did they just like, don't worry about your own phone?
I was on management, so. But-
I took it off my check.
And so what is there for training? I mean, how often?
Every month that we had training, and there was certain, like hazmat, you had to go through hazmat training. Rob and I, or several of us made firefighter 1, and then you can go firefighter 2, so there's a tremendous amount of training. And somebody like Rob was also trained at the EMS. So it's a tremendous amount of personal time you have to commit to it for a volunteer. Or $4.
But you got paid.
Yeah, it was a total shock to me, Dennis, I was like, what is this?
So,
You get $4.
so based on that first photo and now, since you still have the floor, were you fire chief when the tornado in 08 hit?
No,
But you were affected by it.
yeah, I lost my house, but
Yeah.
pretty much most of it.
So, I'm assuming you were out working while your house was laying in rubble. Is that accurate?
Not too much, I was pretty much at my house, because it was,
Were you out spotting that day?
no. I don't even know if we even got called out for spotting that day.
No, we
I
didn't,
don't
because
think-
I was at Blaine.
Yeah.
When your house went away, I was at
Yeah.
Blaine.
Is that, maybe along those same lines, you know, being a small community, and when stuff happens, odds are pretty good you're gonna know either the house or the history of the house or the individuals involved. Is that, how many of the calls you go on do you think you know?
Most, I'd say 80%
Car
or
accident.
more.
Unless it's car accidents?
Right, yeah, but unless it's a car accident, someone passing through town,
How do you,
almost 100% are people that we've known all our lives.
how do you prepare for that?
Mm,
You just do it.
Yeah,
You can't think that way.
yeah, it's just, you just gotta,
I went on the call where Scott Bensen and Eric Swanson were killed. Do you remember that?
In Dunkerton Road.
yeah.
That was a tough one.
You were EMT? How many years did you do that?
I'm gonna say maybe a total of 15 to 20.
Wow. That's a lot.
As Rick shows on his check, my mom was the secretary or treasurer for a while, and Dad was on the fire department. I remember when they'd get called, you know, an actual telephone call, they'd really go on the spot. As a little kid, that was exciting. Obviously scary, but exciting. There's a tornado, and I still remember some of those days.
Did you get to go with?
I didn't go with them on the spot, and I got to go. Every once in a while, you know, you'd be somewhere, and they'd call in as a call, and so you'd drive to the station, and I'd be with them. So I think one or two times I went to a grass fire or something. I had to stay in the truck, but that was pretty.
Well, I know they used to, when the siren would go off when I was a little kid, they would get their calls at the house, and then go to the fire station, and there was a chalkboard, and they'd write down where it was at. So all those kids would get on their bicycles, race to the fire department to see what was going on and where it was at. If it was in town, of course, we were going, but, you know, but it was,
So what was the progression for notifying? Was it the siren first and then, or phone calls, or, and then obviously now they got pagers, right?
yeah. I don't know if they got the phone calls and someone from the firemen ran to the station to set them
Well,
off.
years ago, when I was a little kid, and we didn't have rotary phones, we had crank. So you know how old I am, I'm old. And Margie Reckemer was down at the telephone office, and she would get the call, and it would be, somehow she was able to do it was a long, steady ring, and we knew that was the fire phone.
Oh,
And then she would, you know, dispatch the information. And then after that, if I remember right, when we got push button or, you know, more modern phones, it still was a long, steady ring when they dialed that fire department number. It wasn't 911, it was the fire department number. It was a long, steady ring. And then whoever would pick up would be actually the dispatcher. And so, you know, you'd have to quick write it down, go to the fire station, and like he said, then, you know, do it there. If not enough people showed up, then you would push the button to alert people on the side. That's the way I remember it. And then we went to pagers, and now, of course, it's, you know, different.
I asked Wendy Steffen if she remembered, I knew how good a records they have for the history of the members on the fire staff, and her reply was it's not a good one. They have records from 20 to 30 years ago and some things farther, so it's not perfect. But, like you said, Monica, it's kind of passive. Yeah.
And your mother and I and Maureen Doty were the first females on the fire department. Did you know that?
I thought I heard that, yes.
We weren't readily accepted, but.
Because your dad was in charge and
No,
your brothers were there.
no.
so it seems like being at the, you know, looking at the newspaper, seems the longer I worked in newspapers, the less and less actual fires there were. Is that an accurate, has fire suppression gotten pretty, not so much wildfires, but like house fires with smoke alarms and sprinklers and all this, or do you see? Yeah, the preventative stuff, things less flammable.
I think with electrical, problems being solved a lot.
That's the whole reason the electrical code was ever established.
With fire prevention. I would say that. What's this code you're talking about? But it's, at the same time, what I was experiencing was fewer fires, but when they did happen, they were bigger. You know, it was just full blown. Is that just anecdotal or not? What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably reduce, but then, or
10 years, so we both.
15 years.
Time flies.
What was in Dunkerton history, would you say was one of the bigger fires that's coming or remember?
Yeah, I was.
We really never had any
No.
big fires.
No.
Anything bigger than just, we've had plenty of house fires.
Yeah, we lost one. We saved a couple basements, lost a couple houses.
Did you ever get involved with the derailments?
Not our time, I remember that. But when I was a little kid,
You
living
was.
down by the locker plant, there was a derailment right in town. That was pretty exciting as a little kid.
But that was, Rick, that was like 1969.
Yeah.
There was one before that, because I remember at school, Shank said, he came into the study hall and he said, look out the windows. And, you know, there was a train derailment then, so that was probably 1962.
I was gonna say the other one might have been about 63. Could be 62.
So I
Just a little bit.
tell you a story about Monica's brother. Mike Knebel was when we joined, we started an apartment. And my first run, I got in a truck with Mike, and it was out of town this way. So we're stationed downtown then, and we coming up the hill, and he's got that old water truck going. And we're getting close to school, and he gets every siren and everything, and he's honking his horn, and we're going by school. He looks over, and if you can't get those kids up out of their seats, you're not doing your job. And it was like, okay. It was like, yep, if you can't get every one of those little kids up out of their seats, then you're not doing your job.
well, I know if you wanna get, yeah, do you wanna get injured, but if you're gonna have anything happen to you, you wanna have it happen to you at a home football game, because August he was standing on the hill and got hit from behind, and I think there were 13, either former or current EMTs, and just all there on him, and it was just like,
We have a
or
chimney.
nursing, or
We had a
whatever.
chimney fire, and Jerry was out there. It was Saturday, the kids and I were home, and Donnie Rigdon, someone else, who lived behind us? Whoever, Rich, Grady, they come running over, and they said, Carmen, you have a chimney fire, and Jerry and I were both on the department, I'm like, department. Jerry is a home, and they're like, yeah, but it was okay, it was just on the chimney, but I've never seen so many firemen in my lives. You know, some that never went on call, you know, there were just tons of them.
When did Russ is it? When did,
Russ points to Carmen, she's the one that knows.
have we always had a separate ambulance and fire department?
No, it used to be under
Just
one,
we,
and then it's separated, I don't know, 20 years ago.
I think maybe we covered this already, but we do have people that are just EMTs and just firefighters at this point, but there's some crossover too, right? When, does anybody know when they separated?
I'm gonna say a rough guess, about 20 years ago.
Would you like to dispute that, Russ?
I would
Dispute that.
Thinking.
Well, we started in '86. When did you quit, Mike? Retire or whatever?
Probably when I actually started at the courthouse. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say maybe 1990.
Okay, because we started in '86 and I thought it was separate then.
It could be, like I said, I'm just,
I know when we started, it was
I
Cyrus.
don't,
I think Mike was the chief, fire chief, and, Bill Chickering, he was the ambulance chief. And then he was replaced by Gene Mauer's wife, Ann, Sherman.
Okay.
Now the next one.
Nancy.
Nancy.
The next
Wow,
one.
that. Well, she wouldn't have been on there very long.
No, she wasn't.
At some point, we got our first ambulance. What did we do before ambulances?
Winford Bauer would take people in the back of his car.
There was a little straight line Ford van after the hearse.
Yeah, wasn't that story back in Winford's business there?
There used to be a funeral home there.
Yeah.
It was in the back of the chapel memories.
So they used to go to the hospital in a hearse? Is that what that
That was the first thing.
It was the first thing, was in the hearse before they got an ambulance, I think.
That's not really encouraging.
Was the first ambulance actually a station wagon?
It
Or was it a
anything
box
official.
truck?
It's just, people would call Linford because he had the most, medical knowledge, I would say, you know, from being a pharmacist.
Sure. Really? And this is the first ambulance?
I think so.
Well, there was a flat nose
Before
you
that.
know what I mean? Flat nose,
Yeah.
little Ford van.
Like a town line or something like that.
Yeah, it took Barb to the hospital once. And that was after we moved here, so that would have been after 74. Bobby Wheeler drove and her dad was the attendant. About halfway there, he remembered to turn the oxygen on. She thought she was gonna die.
How often did you guys have to do the burning of the houses for your drills or whatever? 'Cause I know you did the one when we were downtown, above Smith Electric, the one in the corner, they did that as a.
Well, after the flood made them available.
Yeah.
They did it before that?
No. It's very unusual for someone to volunteer their house to be burnt down for training. Yeah, and it was very beneficial for our fire department to have the amount of training that we were able to do in actual house fires. And we had other departments come to our community and train because it's very rare that you can symbolize a fire.
Did you guys, and I think this was before I know, did you burn the one that was on the corner where the old fire station used to be? It was a big,
It was
Yeah.
a duplex.
a duplex,
Oh.
I remember you
Duplex, though.
guys burning one. I wouldn't burn it because I couldn't put the gas on.
Yeah. I remember.
But that, like Rick said, it was very common if a town was gonna do something on that scale. It was very common for them to invite neighboring, especially departments that you have mutual aid with, to train together. That was very common.
Those mutual aid situations, I mean, seems like they happen all the time. Do those go off without a hitch? I mean, you get different departments that maybe do things different ways, or is that not true? Everybody trains the same way?
I don't think they clash.
We definitely
You think, Rob?
clash.
It goes off without a hitch.
Yeah.
They don't clash very often.
And you probably have relationships now with just about every town that you see. You kind of, I mean, probably just about more, but most of them.
Let's go.
Most of them.
And I know Joe actually doesn't, I mean, if there's, Blackhawk County keeps him informed, and if he thinks, he'll do training with them on different things now too.
Make sure they know the school.
Is there anything you'd want the public to know about what you guys do or did that we don't think about? maybe stay out of the way, that sort of thing.
Whatever you say, Rick.
And I do trust you. I think that, the public really needs to support the volunteer departments. I mean, it's the toughest thing, is getting personnel and keeping cost of equipment in mind that everything either department needs, I hate to say it, it's very, very expensive. You know, it's like buying something off the Snap-on truck. There's nothing on there that's inexpensive. Are you guys looking at a new ambulance now, or did you guys just?
The last ambulance was 2018. 2019 was 200,000 plus 40,000 for the cot.
Yeah.
Same ambulance now, according to Jim, is 300,000.
Yeah.
In that short period of time. So that's why we're trying to raise money every year, because and save them.
Yeah.
Is there a anticipated lifespan for an ambulance?
It's supposed to be 10 years. That's the agreement with the trustees of the four townships.
Ignorant, do we just have the one ambulance?
We do.
Would there ever be any need for two?
No. We can't.
Can't say.
It's a hard to tap on.
We're really fortunate to have the staff we have for one.
And I think Dunkerton is like every community that is hurting for volunteers, both on the EMS side and the fire department. Probably more so on the EMS side because all the additional training that they have to accomplish and keep current too. It's not like you go to school and you're done. It's the constant training that you have to complete too, to stay proficient in your skills.
And you also work with the schools, right? I mean, somebody's, cause our kids are always doing fire plans and, so that's kind of neat too, that, yeah, or maybe the school does, but.
Do you guys do walkthroughs with businesses just to see where shut-offs and tanks and whatnot are, or?
Yes.